Today's guest of honor and keynote speaker, Senator Giulio Terzi di Sant'Agata, President of the Italy-India Parliamentary Friendship Group, as well as the inspiration behind the Indo-Mediterranean Initiative. Senator.
Thank you very much, dear Vas Chenoy. Really a sincere thank for having been the initiator, the mastermind, the organizer, the way to implement this beautiful event, this great opportunity to be here to discuss such a momentous issue and in a so timely way. Just these issues were discussed, given a lot of prominence during the G7 meeting and the bilateral meetings the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Meloni had. Very important, and also the other bilaterals in the outreach, but especially the core discussion in this G7 Apulia summit were very much and under many facets very much interested and relevant for the Indo-Pacific discussion we have today. So a sincere thanks to Vas, but a sincere appreciation also to Rajiv Singh, the Director General of the Chamber of Commerce, to the other very interesting and eloquent speakers who have taken the floor up to now, Sanjeev Santal, and in particular, I would like to give really a sincere welcome with the expectation that we'll meet soon in Trieste to Dr. Sandra Sodini, the representative of President Federica here in this room, and to the panelists who are attending today, notwithstanding the temperature and the day, which is not ignored by Roman and Italian people in general, but we are here because of the great interest of the discussion, and in any case, this is the overarching commitment that we have to discuss. Two American friends who are very knowledgeable on this, I say you are a force of inspiring us through what we read and what we listen to them, Dr. James Carafano and Dr. Kaush Ara, and the presence of two key players, not have been, but actual and future key players on all these issues, Ambassador Francesco Talò and Professor Francesco Gaglietti. So it is a great pleasure to have this opportunity to be in such a important company of experts on this issue. So I would like to pass just a few remarks on describing where we stand, what has been the road which brought us here, and the expectation that we, in the sense in Parliament and in the government, but Francesco Talò is much more knowledgeable, having been the mind and the top diplomat in moving this dynamic to where we stand now. So I'd like to start saying that since President Meloni took office in October 2022, it became self-evident the great importance and attention reserved to India by the new Italian government. Think about the Italy-India strategic partnership, launched during President Meloni's visit to Delhi at the beginning of March 2023. Only a couple of days ago, as I just hinted, Prime Minister Modi attended the G7 summit in Apulia, invited by President Meloni. They reviewed progress in implementing the bilateral strategic partnership, and you know very well the rich content and the substantive value of this partnership. Really a step ahead of what it was up to definition of this and the launching of this strategic partnership. Just for example, in global energy, we were Prime Minister Modi and President Meloni, but Italy was among the first subscriber, and I think the first one, but Francesco knows better than I do. They're launching the Global Biofuel Alliance. You know very much in green energy in the transition, how important it is for Italy and for India, the biofuel dimension. But also focus on cooperation on a number of wide array of projects, from defense to infrastructure developments, to space programs, to technologies in digital transition, cybersecurity, protection of industrial property. There's to say a very significant cooperation also in the framework of strategic partnership, cooperation reserved to mobility and migration. Another aspect that enters in the Italian politics very prominently, we made a great steps within the European Union and also the G7 in having the recognition of the basic vision that our countries must have in dealing with legal migration and in fighting against the criminal organization which are exploiting migrants. That is a clear vision and common vision that we have with India, as we have with other G7 partners, other European partners. And again, in their bilateral meeting, Prime Ministers Modi and Meloni agreed to press ahead on all this cooperation in all global forums with multilateral initiatives, and include particularly those aimed at global and regional connectivity. And in particular, and here we are in the middle of the issue, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC, for which Italy, again, also that has been a very first signatories. And again, our two prime ministers have called, more in general terms, a number of occasions you may have noticed. It was not just consideration in general terms on where we stand, but the basic concept of relations in the international community. The fact that there is a widespread narrative, the West and the rest, the West and the global South. Well, this is something that is not particularly welcome to Italian ears, at least to the ears of Prime Minister Meloni and in the political groups which belong to parliamentary majority, because you like very much to understand that there is a need to concentrate ourselves on promoting vision which don't split regions and the world concept, the global South, the industrialized country. We are on the same planet, the same humanity, the same values of respect of human dignity and human rights, the rule of law. That, of course, connects more deeply and closely two great democracies, like greatest democracy in many senses, demographic, but not only, but for tradition, for cultural roots, and so on, which is India, and also, without being self-complacent, Italy as a very, very important democracy in sense of values for its history and its general cultural and philosophical upbringings. I would say we would have all interest to concentrate ourselves on promoting mutual security, sustainable development, freedom, human dignity, on the basis of a concept of relations among equals. That is why I'm a little reserved on splitting the world under north, south, east, or west. A relations among equals. And that was proved by the number of outreach meetings that at the G7 were taken. Talking about the kind of work that we are doing, we are pursuing, the kind of input that we are giving at the parliamentary level to our group of friendship. This is happening both in terms of soft and hard power, through bilateral and multilateral cooperation, starting from big ones, and such as at the governmental level, defense cooperation, security, counterterrorism, but also, and I was mentioning, parliamentary activity, especially focusing on cultural, scientific, human ties, and human relations. And there is no doubt that before going into today's topic again, the IMEC corridor and the connection with the Mediterranean Sea and the Indo-Pacific as a bridge for Italy's role in the new scenarios, I would like to mention here, because this has been really one of the elements of this forum, coming up to the preparation of this forum, the work of the India-Italy Parliamentary Friendship Group. There are many similarities between Italian and Indian history, and that has surfaced in the discussion that we have in this interparliamentary group. It has served a first time at the Resina dialogue attended by President Meloni in 2023. Francesco Talò was there and was really did a great job on that occasion. And it serves again in the activity, the cultural activity in commemoration of dedicated to the 75th anniversary of Italy-India bilateral relations, when we presented a book at the Senate on the embassy, on the Italian embassy in India. And by the way, I would like to recognize also participation tonight, but also the expectation that we have for Ambassador De Luca, the splendid job that he did in his mission, is going to be accomplished and to come to a term in the next few days. But we'll have the pleasure we have had the pleasure today of listening to him, the important message that he sent, and also I expect to listen to him tomorrow at another event we are going to have at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs club tomorrow evening. But it is the India-Italy Parliamentary Friendship Group that has organized, besides this presentation and this event on the 75th anniversary, several moments of discussion, often in collaboration with the Embassy of India in Italy and the Chamber of Commerce that today host us. And let me express again a deep appreciation to the Embassy of India, to Her Excellency Vani Rao. I know that she is very supportive of this forum, and she is doing an excellent and extraordinary beginning of mission to follow up in line exactly for what has been done by the embassy in a previous season led by Ambassador Malhotra. The friendship group comprises members which are also involved in a more direct promotion of soft power, and I would like to recognize the role of Honorable Mollicone, Chairman of the Culture Commission in the Chamber of Deputies, and the important mission that he had the opportunity to make to the Kerala region to attend the International Conference of the Soft Power Club. And again, we had the honor at the Senate of having an in-depth talk about bilateral cooperation with Ambassador Vani Rao, and a talk attended by a good number of members and a prominent group of members of the Italy-India Interparliamentary Friendship Group. Well, I am mentioning all this because it is quite important. There are many other things that I could say, like my presence at Resina Dialogue a few months ago, the extremely interesting meeting with Foreign Minister Jai Shankar, whom I would like to congratulate wholeheartedly for his appointment in the new cabinet. But I think that I cannot go too far and to take too much of your time in reporting to you what we are doing. But it was just doing that just to show concretely why there is so much concentration on the question of IMEC, and why we are talking so often and so intensely, but we are not only talking, we would like to act, as I was discussing, Dr. Ara and Dr. Carafano just a few minutes ago. We have to act fast on defining the reasons why the corridor is so important and why Trieste must be considered really at the center of this initiative. The strength of a two-way corridor from India to Europe and vice versa lies in the creation of an alternative route to other initiatives which are already in the cards from other powers. The corridor is planned to guarantee the future of trade, energy, and data links between India, Europe, and the Middle East in the Atlantic Alliance's growth. It is a matter of security and independence of our global economy, established by treaties and norms of the international order. In fact, it is perfectly embedded in the EU Global Gateway as well as in the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, and also in the Mattei's plan of Meloni's government. Mattei's plan refers to Africa especially, but Africa has a clear dimension in the Indo-Pacific when we look at the geopolitical situation of the African continent. So that's why these three elements, PGII, Mattei's plan, and IMEC, have entered repeatedly in the final communiqué of the G7. And that all things stand together. And the vision, as I try to present, is really a vision which encompasses a number of factors, which is moving fast and responds to general but coincident security and political objectives. And that is because today, more than ever, India and Italy share the common vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific, where the international law is recognized and fully implemented, must be fully recognized and implemented, based on respect of the national sovereignty, on security, and the prerogatives of each state, as provided by bilateral and multilateral treaties, starting with the UN Charter, and I underline this aspect, and others such as the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, with its norm and obligations concerning the strict respect of freedom of navigation, sovereignty, exploration rights in territorial waters, and the free economic zones that are foreseen by the Convention. Italy and India share, I believe, exactly this vision of an Indo-Pacific which is in many aspects a natural continuation of an enlarged Mediterranean that has always been at the heart of the Italian foreign policy. An enlarged Mediterranean that has even more taken importance and centrality with Prime Minister Meloni's government. The war in Ukraine today is at a critical stage and complicates the whole even more. There is no need to delve into insights into the relationship between President Putin and President Xi Jinping, or into Iranian aspiration in the Middle East region, or again into the global order powers like they would like to impose on us. In this complexity, IMEC represents a real security axis, not just an economic corridor. Moreover, IMEC means a concrete, tangible integration of the Indo-Pacific region within Europe and within the West, in the precise perspective of the enlarged Mediterranean concept. And they come again now to the Italian role with this government, with President Meloni's government. The government has taken up the challenge of being at the forefront in forging new routes and supply chains, from putting Africa at the center of our foreign agenda with the Mattei Plan, and choose to enhance the national maritime predisposition of our peninsula. Indo-Pacific integration with Europe is, of course, closely linked to European integration with the African continent. A huge opportunity is emerging from our nations to be bridges, both of us, between Africa and the EU, on a route between the Indo-Pacific and the Mediterranean. The EU has already recognized the strategic nature of this new paradigm, since the Mattei Plan, for instance, is one of the 15 strategic development programs that are recognized as priority by the European Union. And I think that I was referring before by Dr. Kaushara, whom I again greatly, and Dr. Carlos Roa, co-author with Dr. Kaushara, in a recent brilliant article in the National Interest magazine, that countries such as Japan might also be interested in signing up to an initiative of such profound strategic implication. There is no need of a pivot or concentration of efforts on a specific area. And here I could quote Professor James Carafano's words, and the quote, "There is no point in going back to thinking about blocks of influence. We need to create global opportunities for countries willing to forge solid and free ties, to build interdependence that benefits everyone without using anymore an us versus them mentality. And Italy, in this playground, plays as a crucial role as a natural terminal," end of quote. You see here the reason why at the beginning I was saying that we should not split the different geographic zone according to different principles, rules, or interpretation of universal rights. It is a mentality of not us versus them, but is an inclusive mentality of inclusion. And thank you, Dr. Carfano, for being so eloquent on this matter. He looked at me as if saying, "Don't spoil my writing," but I end here, not to do too much of that. And IMEC in particular. Let's go back to the Adriatic Sea and Trieste. Long history, enormous, huge history, huge wealth, the history of Venice. The region of Venice, and therefore Veneto, Friuli, Venezia Giulia, but also the Mediterranean, the opening up to the Mediterranean basin and beyond. But historically, especially the Venetian Republic. But nowadays, really a great opportunity to come back to a crucial node for trade, cultural exchanges, and for a vibrant political and economic human relations picture. It seems clear to me that nowadays there is no better option than Trieste to play the key role in the whole Mediterranean basin until the Adriatic, since the Adriatic is the key of the most important platform for interconnecting the 4 strategic corridors in Europe. The 4 strategic corridors, the Mediterranean, Rhine-Alps, Scandinavian Mediterranean, and Baltic Adriatics. And Trieste is right there, is the central pillar in all these intersections. It is not only because already trade is, for instance, very, very fluent and important. 70% of goods directed from Turkey to Europe go through Trieste. I could say similar, you could give similar figures also from other points of derivation of imports. But Trieste is really, in the sense, if you look in that sense of interconnection, but also from the prominence that is taking also as a city, as a harbor, as an industrial hub, high-tech hub, at the heart of Europe in industrial and EU trade routes, perfectly connected by rail to Austria, Hungary, Germany, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and also potential development of the 3 Seas initiatives, the 3SI, connecting Baltic, Black, and the Adriatic Seas. And these I'm stealing some ideas from my red side, I think Professor Galietti, but Professor Kaushara, we have spoken a number of times about that. At the local and regional level, IMEC represents an important opportunity, therefore, for Italy's Northeast industrial hub, especially for the whole Veneto and Friuli Venezia Giulia regions, and at the same time for the entire European community. And therefore, it is essential that there will be cross-sector support for this initiative. And I think it is our task in our forum today, and the people not only in this room, but also to try to study the situation and to fast generate a momentum for this idea of moving IMEC in the direction of Trieste and connecting to the 4 main European corridors. And that is because European international politics are intertwined. Considering recent EU elections, we can only welcome the accrued responsibilities that this Italian government and the parliamentary majority supporting it are willing to take with the European vision of economic and social progress, of an European enhanced integration as far as connectivity and infrastructure are concerned. Thank you very much.